Yesterday, FMDQ Securities Exchange Limited announced the introduction of long-term monthly Naira-settled OTC FX futures contracts for up to 5 years, and this takes effect from February 13. So what is the implication of this? Let's talk to the Managing Director, FMDQ Securities Exchange Limited, Tumi Shekoni. Good morning, Tumi. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Now, in 2016, the central bank introduced the Naira-settled OTC FX futures. Can you provide some kind of background on this?
Okay, so in that year, 2016, and even maybe prior, 2015, there was a bit of challenge in the FX market. And what you found was the rates were sort of going away with themselves because people were hoarding FX, because of the uncertainty really in the market with respect to crude and the rates, the Naira rates. So what happened was the requirement for having a hedging product became very apparent. And one of the things that the CBN did in that period was to, in conjunction with FMDQ, introduce a hedging product for the FX market. And that's how the Naira-settled OTC FX futures was birthed.
How has the market fared so far? What values and volumes have FMDQ seen in this market since its inception?
Well, the market has fared very, very well. And over time, over the few years from 2016 through to 2019, we've seen considerable increase in participation in the futures product. And what we have found also, what has happened is the futures product has helped to stabilize the FX market. So in conjunction with the INE window, we see demand for FX is being met by supply. So we've not had rates just go away with themselves as they did prior from 2016 and prior. And what you have now, we've done in total about 36 billion worth of futures contracts. About 26 billion thereabout have been settled, and we have about 10.7 billion outstanding.
Yesterday, you hit a milestone, 60 monthly contracts by the CBN. What is the rationale for this? How will this benefit the market?
Okay, so when the futures product was launched, as you'd imagine, this is something novel, new in the market. People didn't really understand it, and even for central bank and FMDQ, we had to ensure that what we're bringing into the market was something sustainable and would actually work over time. Now, with every product, obviously, there's constant market engagement to find out how the product is faring, find out what the investors need, the market participants need. And in the course of these engagements, it was apparent that there was a gap with respect to hedging FX exposures. And what you find, you had a lot of investors who wanted to do more in the Nigerian market. And the maximum term, if you will, that they would have been hedged at was 12 months, and then recently the 13th month contract was introduced. So you had a maximum of 13 months in terms of hedging. But then you have investors who want to spend 3 years in Nigeria, want to inflow 3-year money and invest in the economy for that long, but they didn't have a hedge for that. So after, again, market engagements, the central bank approved the extension, if you will, of the hedge product to 5 years.
But then, given the volatility of the currency, do you think creating contracts of up to 5 years is the way to go in light of various macroeconomic uncertainty?
Well, and what a hedge product is meant to do is to manage this volatility. And you would argue that because of this 5-year contract now, as in the extension of the contracts to 5 years, you probably see more calmness in the markets. So because you can plan, if you decide that you're going to invest in the economy, in the Nigerian market for 5 years, you can effectively plan and know what it is your returns of, at the end of the day, with the FX side would be. The FX risk that you're taking is completely minimized or hedged, at least for that period, for that length of time.
The risk between the strike price and the spot price upon maturity, is it the FMDQ or the CBN?
So it is the market, it is the counterparty. So what a hedge product does is, from the day you do that trade, you know what you're going to get, if you will, the FX at. So let's say I go into a trade of $1 million at, say, 360 today with a counterparty. It means when the contract matures, say it was a 6-month contract, in 6 months' time, what I'm effectively going to get my $1 million at is 360. So even if on the day of the maturity, the rate is 365, that's to my favor in a way, I would get the 5 Naira differential from the counterparty I bought from, which in this case is the central bank. And since the product has been launched since 2016, there's been contract maturities and effective settlement. So where central bank is the one who is going to pay the settlement amount, that has happened seamlessly. And when it's the other way around and the counterparty, the buyer of the futures, is to pay the settlement amount to central bank, that has been happening. With obviously the help of the, with the clearing institution, that's FMDQ Clear Limited, performing the clearing and settlement function for the product.
So how confident are you that with the extension of these contracts, more FDIs can be attracted into the country in the near to medium term?
Again, this extension was introduced from market engagement. So this is essentially what the market wants. And the CBN has provided what the market has been asking for.
Will the 1 to 60 months contract still be traded on FMDQ?
Absolutely, yes. And the clearing and settlement, as I said, would be performed by FMDQ Clear Limited, as has been done from the inception of the product.
And how can interested investors access the Naira-settled OTC FX futures contract?
So anyone interested in participating in it would have to go to one of the banks, one of the authorized dealers, and they essentially will be the futures bank that are the counterparty to the trade with the central bank.
Now, finally, just before I let you go, talk to us about FMDQ's derivatives market project. When can we expect more products in the market?
So following the establishment, again, of the futures product in 2016, like I said, it was apparent that we needed more hedging products in the market. And FMDQ performed a feasibility study that period to look at what was lacking in the market. And over the last couple of years, or a year and two, we've been putting things in place to launch our first derivative product, or I would say second now, once you talk about, as in once you put in consideration the OTC FX futures. So what we've done is we've had consistent market engagements, market awareness, and we're at the stage where we're developing the right system, the market rules, and all that's required to hopefully launch. We're looking at interest rates futures and also bond futures sometime this year.
I thank you, Tumi, for your time. Tumi Shekomi is the Managing Director of FMDQ Securities Exchange.